All right. So that's a bit of a summary of considerations in the outdoor environment, our outdoor classroom. As you do more and more of these lessons, it's going to become habit, but those are definitely things to consider. Now, when it comes to our students, other considerations to keep in mind. To fully support our students, we must understand their needs and expectations. Knowing some basic information will go a long way towards running a successful program and setting your students up for fun and success. Experience level, we need to know that up front. Expectations, what do they hope to get out of the experience? In a basic class, it's probably going to be, um, I'm hoping to stand. I'm hoping not to get wet sometimes is what it is. So sometimes we have to coach around that one. Well, it's a water sport. Getting wet isn't a failure. Getting wet means that we're pushing our boundaries and we're doing some fun stuff. So the expectation is at some point you're going to. Our students' feelings, hesitations or apprehensions, challenged by choice. So very common. Students are going to be nervous coming into this class. It's going to be a mix of nerves, a bit mix of excitement, a mix of apprehension. So it's our job to help them manage that as best we can. We can do that through pace, through our actions, through our language, through a smile, through some laughter, and always setting that expectation that do this when you're ready, especially standing. I always demo standing a couple of times while they're watching. And then I encourage them to move at their own pace and not look to set their pace based on what everyone else is doing. And if they get halfway up and go back to the board, well, then we'll call that standing number one. And then we'll just gradually move into it, letting students know that they don't have to rush, will sometimes be enough to set them at ease. Attitude, what you put in dictates what you get out. That is both for the student and for you as the instructor. If you show up smiling and excited, your students are going to pick up on that. If your students are being withdrawn and hanging towards the back because they're nervous, they're not going to get as much out. As instructors, we might work to help them draw out, what it is that they're nervous about and help them manage it so that they end up at the end of the class with, a success or a win for themselves or that big smile because they've known they've done something new and hopefully they're excited to do it again. Clothing, appropriate gear for the conditions. It might be exposure gear depending on temperature. It might be a raincoat if it's raining to avoid evaporation and cooling. It might be a rash guard to help prevent sun. It might be a hat to prevent sun. It might be sunglasses with a retainer to prevent too much sun in the eyes. And it might also be, it's a little cool today. You can't wear that cotton shirt because it will make you cooler if you get wet. So let's put on some synthetic clothing. Medical forms, this is going to depend on the class that you're teaching. In a basic class, often this isn't going to be used unless there is a community that you're working with where maybe that's consideration. You might want to get them to fill out a medical assessment that you would keep private for yourself so what you might be working with. Other than that, for the most part, medical form aside, if folks are dealing with something, we can address that as instructors by saying, hey, if we're working with shoulders or shoulder issues or lower back issues, these are some considerations. If that's the case, you might want to let me know you're working with that. Just pull me to the side. So we can handle medical conditions or conditions that might be limiting or that we as instructors should be aware of, in a couple of different ways. A full-on form or, a discussion in private so that you know how to provide adjustments and tweaks for that individual. So again, so they have a greater level of success and fun on the water. Awareness of our students. We must be aware of the basic needs of our group. Cold, wet, tired, hungry, scared. If they are any of these things, they will not learn. Good rule of thumb is if you are cold and wet and tired and hungry, they are too. If they have gotten wet, it's best for you to keep checking in. How's your temperature? Are you getting cool? If you see them shivering, you know they're getting cold. If they're getting scared, you're going to see it in their faces. It's something that you as an instructor can work on, work through with them. That's generally a little bit of a one-on-one to the side. We need to adjust our teaching style to suit the needs of our students. We're going to talk about that in the idea or in this next section here. But students, all of us learn in slightly different manners. You know, some of us learn visually, some of us learn by hearing, some of us learn by doing. We all learn basically by a combination of those. You're going to learn to pick up on how students are learning and be able to tweak your lessons on the fly. We need to foster a supportive and fun environment so students feel at ease. They trust that they are safe, have confidence in you, the instructor. When these conditions are met, they will have fun learning. So this is a big statement that is kind of hard to do. How do you make someone feel at ease? How do you make them trust they are safe? How do you inspire confidence in you as an instructor? Basically, it's going to come down to, in my opinion, body language, language, and how we're presenting ourselves. You know, when we approach individuals with a level of compassion, you know, they're going to pick up on it. When we see someone's looking a little nervous and we do a little bit of a check in to the side, they're going to know that we're seeing them and we're noticing them. That's going to help with safe. When we don't set ourselves up as huge, you know, I'm the instructor and I'm perfect and you're just the student. When we don't set ourselves on pedestals, you know, we're creating a safer environment usually for folks. Confidence can come by just working with them and having the answers to the questions they present, they bring forward, or providing options for them to help them succeed. They will start having confidence in you as an instructor to be able to help them attain their goals. So this comes over time and with practice. And if you've done any instructing before, you probably know all this and do it already. But it's definitely something to consider. A student who feels safe is going to be a student who learns and a student who trusts. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. Understanding how people learn. This is what I was mentioning before, and perceive information will allow you to create lesson plans that cater to a variety of learning styles. In relation to the teaching of physical skills, students generally learn in these three ways. Visual, students need to see and watch the skill to learn it. They appreciate effective demonstrations and will be confused with talking. These students mimic your actions and will require good modeling. Mirroring will be a good technique for these students. Auditory students can learn a particular skill by listening to an effective description of the skill. Terminology must be appropriate and explanations cannot be wordy or confusing. Less is always more. For these learners, less is always more. For these learners, it provides helpful. Kinesthetic. These learners must physically do the skill to be successful, to really learn it, to learn the body mechanics of it. They learn by doing. They will dive into it without instruction or explanation and will need time to work on the skill. Often they're the ones that were saying, okay, just hold on a second. I'm just going to show you one more time and then we'll dive into it. The reality is that everyone learns in a combination of these, but generally there is certain areas that people respond to more. So it's a matter of when we're working with students, we'll notice the ones that maybe are lagging behind a little bit. And by experimenting a little bit with our technique and noticing, are they watching me to see what I'm doing? You know, do they just need to do it and I provide corrections to how to tweak it as they're going so that they can learn as they're going? Or do they need to see it one more time? Those ones are easy because they will say, can you show me again, please? Mind you, can you show me again, please, is sometimes a stall tactic for not wanting to stand. And sometimes it's, I just really need to see what each individual piece of your body is doing so that I can try and mimic it. So you'll learn over time the cues that tells us, you know, what type of learner an individual is. We're going to be talking about in the next video the ideas module or the ideas teaching methodology. And we use that because it tries to use all three of these in every skill that we teach, so that we're, for every individual, every student, we're hitting on something that is going to work for them, um, as they are trying to learn the skill.